What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Soul Sandy sneaker review. Today, I'm going to be going over the Air Jordan 10 Shadow 2025 version. I was able to grab these this morning from my local social status. Shout out to Key and Mark for holding it down up there. I grabbed this today as well. Pretty cool hat. They did a few different colorways on the social status New Era collab. Pretty cool. So let's talk about the first time that the Air Jordan 10 Shadow did release, and that would be in 1994, 95 time. I don't know the month, but it did release while he was playing baseball, not basketball. Although he did wear it later in the season in his return to basketball. After this released in 1994, it did release again in the 2008 Countdown Pack. It did return with the Stitch 23. I don't want to say it was Stitch, but the Stitch 23 return on the side of the Countdown Pack, which was an ode to his PE pair that he wore in game in the 1994-95 season when he returned to basketball. The only other time we've gotten this shoe until today was the 2018 retro, but those sat really hard, which I think put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths when it comes to the Shadow Air Jordan 10 colorway. I will say I'm a bit surprised that they didn't choose to add the toe cap back to this pair like they did the steel colorway earlier this year. But a little bit of history behind that, the steel colorway did actually release in 1994 with the toe cap. However, the shadows were pulled before they could get released. For the most part, there might be a few pairs out there that a few finite people got their hands on, but really the only way to see an Air Jordan 10 Shadow with the toe cap would be on like an East Bay magazine, which doesn't really exist now in 2025. But that would be considered rare air, which is something Jordan Brand has been talking about all year. So it's something I could have saw them bringing back and just being, letting nostalgia kind of carry the story for these. They limited them anyway, so I think they were going to sell out regardless. However, that would have been a nice nod to the original non-release pairs of the Air Jordan 10s from 1994. So these did release today, November 19th. The official colorway is Charred Grey, True Red, and Black, which is a little bit different from the 2018 box, which is considered to be closest to the OG. The colorway on the 2018 box was Black, Dark Shadow, True Red. So Dark Shadow versus Charred Grey. And something to note is that the Charcoal 9s also featured the Charred Grey colorway on their box as well. So I'm gonna take my glasses off for this one. For those of you who haven't seen my other video, I've been wearing glasses because I've been having some frequent migraines. So just bear with me, guys. Another thing that's a little bit different from some of the other OGs is that the 2018 and the 1994 is that this checkered pattern on the inside, the lining was a little bit lighter and more defined. This one has been muted out a little bit to kind of fit the shadow theme. So make sure I'm not missing anything. I'll take out both pairs real quick. Something cool about the colorway on this one is that the Shadow 10 is the first model to feature the shadow colorway, the shadow theme, since the Air Jordan 1. You could argue that the Charcoal Gray Air Jordan 9 did as well, but I think this one is a little bit closer, and it actually adopted the name Shadow. I know that it gets adopted by the culture and not necessarily by the brand. However, I do think it's cool that after a long line of breads and kind of basically home colorways and away colorways, black and red, white and red, and then a few things sprinkled in there, we did make our way back to one of the original colorways that started Jordan Brand in 1985. So the Air Jordan 10 was meant to close the book on Michael Jordan's basketball career. So it does have all of his accolades, career achievements. So let's start with 1985, Rookie of the Year. 1986, 63 points. I believe that's in the playoffs. 1987, scoring title. 1988, dunk champion in the Air Jordan 3s. 1989, all defense. 1990, scores 69 points. 1991 MVP and championship, 1992 MVP and championship, 1993 MVP and championship, and 94 and beyond. So Tinker actually designed these without any input from Michael Jordan, except when Michael Jordan requested that the toe cap be removed, and that's how we got the original run of steals with the toe cap, and then there was more steals without the toe cap, and then these, like I said, did not release to the general public with the toe cap because they were requested to be removed by Michael Jordan. The Air Jordan 10 was not the first pair to feature this speed lace system, and arguably they did it a little bit worse than the 9s, but this is still one of the most comfortable Air Jordans, not only to play in, but just to, for overall lifestyle comfort. It is the first Air Jordan with a Phylon midsole, and then they obviously continued to use that afterwards. The collar does have some pretty thick, plush padding, and that's part of why it's so comfortable as well. But that insole, and it's just got a regular Dream Seal insole, I'm not taking it out of there, but it's got a regular Dream Seal insole. So for anybody thinking about, I wouldn't grab these for work, but these aren't going to be on the uncomfortable side of Jordans. I would say they fit true to size. I heard people saying that they fit a little bit different than the Steels, and I will let you guys know that at a later time. But I don't think you have anything to worry about. I would go with your true size. Should be pretty true to size on these. Those of you may know, this is not the original retro box for the Shadow 10s or the 10s in general, but we did get it's a black top gray box. I'm just looking at it, sorry. With the Jordan logo in the middle, but they did switch to this because this is the retro box that released in 1994 with other shoes at that time, the Air Jordan 1, 2, and 3. So this is a reimagined retro box because it does have updated pictures of all the silhouettes here. Super cool box. It did come with the Steels as well, and it says 1985 to 2025. So super cool retro updated box here. No retro card. Jordan Brand, bring back the retro card. So, I'm pretty sure this shoe sold out this morning for the most part, but I don't think resale prices online are much above 300, if even at 300. Obviously, street level markets, they might be running around 300 to 320, 340. Resellers, when they're in your face, tend to add 40 to 50 bucks to what StockX or GOAT would say. But these did sell out. I don't think they're as limited as the Steels. The Steels were rumored to be limited to 18,000 pairs, so I would say this is probably between 20 and 30,000. Still not a lot, but it did open. There were some other retailers that did have these that did not have the Steels. However, Social still did not get a lot of them, so I think they were still limited. And a lot of people did take an L on sneakers this morning. Also, that's another reason why I think they're a little bit more plentiful than the Steels, because the Steels did not make an appearance on the sneakers app. So the materials on these are pretty good. One last difference I'll say is that they do have the Jumpmans facing each other, which was something that varied by factory in the 90s with the 10s. So the last retro we got did have both of the Jumpman facing to the left. The left of the shoes, I guess. It's my right to left of the shoes for you guys. So that is one other difference between these and the 2018 pair. I'm not sure about the countdown pair, but obviously the results are varied on the 1994 versions because it was determined by factory. Like between Korea and Taiwan, that's how you kind of would know where your shoes came from, because they could have had Jumpman facing the same way or facing each other. That's really all I got for you as far as these go. They're pretty clean cut. The materials on these are good. If you're looking for them, definitely grab them while they're low, because shoes like this that released this year that did sell out are only going to go up. The shoes this year that also didn't sell out at first are also going to go up. So something to note about 2025 is it has been super easy to obtain these sneakers without jumping through a lot of hoops and paying resale because the sneakers would go on sale or they would sit. But I want you to know that that doesn't last forever. Even shoes that do not sell out, once they do sell out, eventually the supply and demand will not be met anymore, and it'll obviously the demand will outweigh the supply because they will be sold out. So just keep that in mind. Just because something sat along a while ago, maybe white cement 4s, that's not a shoe. The 2025 white cement 4 will not be under retail like it was this year next year. So think about that. Grab these shoes while they're available or at a price point that you can afford. Don't just take my word for it, do your own research, but keep that in mind. 2025 was the year of the sneakerhead. Capitalize on that while you can. That's really all I got for you guys today. Check us out on the Soul Sandy Sneaker Podcast page. We do our weekly podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. We've had a slew of guests. We got more guests coming. The season finale of season 5 is coming up this weekend. So we will see you guys out there. Let me know what you guys think about these down below. Is this a cop? Is this a flop? Just let me know what you guys are thinking. And I will catch y'all out on another video. Peace.